every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides on political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome. This is CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. I am Abosedi Omowi. Our top stories tonight. Many thanks for joining us tonight. Now the news in full. We're beginning with the happenings with the Nigerian Army, where the Army has described as baseless and unfortunate the allegation by the Joint Niger Delta Liberation Force, GNDLF, that some Army officers approached them for support to overthrow the government. In a statement on Thursday, the Acting Director, Army Public Relations, Colonel Sani Usman, described the allegation as a dangerous distraction to their effort in fighting insurgency and other criminal elements in the country. He discloses that the Nigerian Army would like to send a strong and an unequivocal warning to those speculating a coup by the Nigerian Army against the government to desist forthwith. Colonel Usman further points out that the Nigerian Army is investigating those behind the dangerous insinuation in order to unravel the real motive behind it. President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria and Norway, major fish exporting country, will work together to deepen their agricultural cooperation, particularly on fish farming and fisheries development. Speaking at a farewell audience with the outgoing ambassador of Norway to Nigeria, Ambassador Rolf, President Buhari says his administration will continue to promote agriculture as an alternative revenue earner for the country. The president also received the outgoing ambassador of Mexico, Antonio Garcia Blanco, and commended the cordial relations between the two countries in the 40 years of their diplomatic relations. He, however, congratulates both envoys for a successful completion of their tour of duty to Nigeria and wished them well in their future endeavors. The federal government says its objective is to institute a regime of shared prosperity that will ensure that dependence on federal allocation is reduced through diversification of the nation's economy. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, while speaking at the launch of the Harmonized Standard Operating Procedure for Port Operations and the Port Support Service portal, discloses that the government will continue to encourage a competitive business environment and a technology-driven public service. Correspondent Kozem Kasali has more.
The issue of corruption in port operations in Nigeria is one many stakeholders note as a sticking point in the efficiency and competitiveness of the nation's port. With this in mind, the Ministry of Transport put together a harmonized standard operating procedure for operators and a port services support portal to aid efficiency and competitiveness of the nation's ports in relation to other countries. The initiative, according to Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, is one that is in line with the desire of the federal government to create a competitive business environment and a technology-driven and corruption-free public service.
The benefits of the entire initiative are glaring, ranging from a more efficient port administration to the incidental effect of making it much easier to do business in Nigeria. A key component of this administration's change agenda.
Earlier in his address, the Minister of Transportation says the initiative is one that will help the nation's ports in becoming competitive and also eradicate corruption and ensure that change through diversification, which is top of the agenda of the federal government, becomes a reality.
The initiative of drafting, adoption, and harmonization of SOPs of port operations in Nigeria seeks to enhance transparency and accountability to ensure we achieve a user-friendly business environment in the Nigerian ports for greater economic performance. The SOP is generally regarded as a work reference guide that informs the general public on the process map of each port agency and operator.
In his goodwill address to the occasion, Danish ambassador to Nigeria expresses the readiness of his country to always partner with the federal government on developing the maritime sector.
You are performing an outstanding work in trying to combat, by all means possible, the corruption in Nigeria. The launch today is of special significance to Denmark and special importance. Denmark is a very active player in the maritime sector in Nigeria.
Other stakeholders from the maritime sector also promised to stand shoulder to shoulder with the federal government to ensure that they play by the rules. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And as part of efforts to ensure the efficient delivery of cargo to the hinterland, a ministerial action committee has been put in place to actualize the dream of the nation's first inland dry port. The committee, among other things, is to chart a roadmap for dry port operations in the country. Correspondent Kazim Kasali completes the details in this report.
During the administration of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, a lot was made of the launch of some inland container depots in parts of the country, and over a decade after, they remain only on the drawing board. But today, the Ministry of Transportation has put in place a ministerial committee to, among other things, develop a roadmap for the operations of dry ports in the country.
We know that the basic reason is to decongest the seaports, enhance efficiency, and reduce costs of transportation and importation. The need, therefore, to upgrade of the Inland Container Nigeria Limited bonded terminal in Kaduna to an inland container depot dry port with a capacity of 5,000 TEU.
According to the minister, the Kaduna dry port will be the first of its kind in the country, and the committee is expected to produce a framework for its takeoff and strategies for movement of cargo throughout the country to the depot and others who may emerge later.
Provide access to port services, stimulate economic development, boost export of agricultural commodity, provide employment opportunities, and increase revenue generation to the state. I'm quite aware that the task of this committee is to enormous with particular regard to the full-scale commencement of activities at Kaduna Inland Dry Port.
Chairman of the Implementation Committee, Sani Galadanchi, promises the minister that the committee will deliver on the enormous task. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The federal government is reiterating its commitment to make concerted efforts towards addressing the poverty issues facing the citizenry through formulation of people-oriented policies. Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, stated this in Abuja at the revalidation workshop on National Social Protection Policy Framework. Correspondent Nkiruka Nanyelugo files in the report presented from our studios.
The Minister of State in her remarks says government is committed to doing more in addressing the issues of poverty, income equality, malnutrition, unemployment, social exclusion and insecurity, amongst others.
As of now, 2 of the programs have already kicked off. There is the Teacher Core program that has opened up. Registration is already ongoing. The Bank of Industry has also started the program of supporting SMEs and cooperatives with small grants.
Other speakers who made their views known at the workshop say social protection policy intends to reduce poverty and provide a life of dignity for Nigerians.
Unemployment insurance are not part of unemployment benefits to job seekers. We know we have so many of them in Nigeria. They are there. They also need to live a life of dignity and well-being until they are able to lay their hands on a job that will provide them income.
Representatives of UNICEF and World Bank were there to show their support to the government for the policy implementation.
Nigeria should expect a very coordinated program. They should expect a very coordinated effort both at federal and at state level, to which development partners are committed, that will begin to bring succor to the poor, that will also ensure social inclusion and will help to improve the welfare.
Many analysts say Nigerians' increasing population, by extension, poverty, has necessitated government's concern for concerted efforts to reduce the scourge of poverty and improve the general well-being of its citizens.
The All Progressives Congress Labour Party caucus of the Senate has pledged its continued support for the anti-corruption drive of President Muhammadu Buhari. Rising from a meeting, the caucus says allegations by the PDP caucus that government is targeting perceived opposition members is baseless. Jamil Afegwa reports.
In what seems to be a response to Wednesday's PDP caucus threat not to support the president if government continues harassing its members, the APC caucus says it is shocked that the PDP is saying it is being witch-hunted in government's attempt to recover stolen funds.
We are shocked by the partisan reaction of our colleagues from the minority party, the PDP, to the ongoing investigations about the recovery of public funds meant for the prosecution of the war against insurgency.
The caucus further says that nobody has been unjustly arrested as funds meant for specific developments were diverted into campaigns by the ruling party then.
News of millions and billions of naira and sometimes of dollars of public funds traced to the accounts of individuals, mostly belonging to only one party.
While claiming that funds were traced to accounts mostly belonging to members of the PDP and some of them freely returning such monies, the party's stance with the rule of law stands and everybody, according to them, has a chance to defend him or herself in a court of competent jurisdiction.
All of the actions, programs, and policies of the government led by President Muhammadu Buhari, because nobody has been unjustly arrested or imprisoned on mere allegations.
Rounding off the interaction with the media, the caucus calls on the opposition to embrace the developmental agenda of the Buhari administration and speak against anything capable of destroying the country. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Members of the House of Representatives are reacting to the diversion of funds donated by well-meaning individuals and various international donor agencies to the Northeast. They observe that despite the huge contributions by these donor agencies, the IDPs are still living in very deplorable conditions due to the non-remittance of these funds and materials for the purpose they are meant for. You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. Still ahead, a federal government for the second time seeks shielding of witnesses in the trial of Sambo Dasuki. Details of this and other reports after this break. Stay with us.
With over 7 billion of world population and still counting, the world needs to hear you now than ever. Whatever your ministry or vision is, Gospel Africa will help get you there faster than you think possible. For inquiries and participation, contact 009 503 3859 or 0812 076 0011 or visit www.gospelafricang.com. Gospel Africa, your #1 media solutions for the church today.
Gospel Africa, showing on this station at this time.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Welcome back. You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. Let's take another look at our top stories. All our top stories, all the news and information can be found on our social media platforms. Facebook.com/CoreTV News. On our Twitter handle @CoreTV News NG. And on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV, News. Members of the House of Representatives are reacting to the diversion of funds donated by well-meaning individuals and various international donor agencies to the Northeast. They observe that despite the huge contributions by these donor agencies, the IDPs are still living in very deplorable conditions due to the non-remittance of these funds and materials for the purpose they are meant. Emmanuel Hijene has the report.
The mover of the motion notes that the deplorable condition under which the IDPs live, despite the huge amount of money and materials deployed to the Northeast, is appalling and seeks the leave of the House to find out why.
His Excellency, the Governor of Borno State, has recently requested security agents to investigate diversions of food items in the IDP camps. Mr. Speaker, this is one of the major worried of the people of the Northeast. Funds on daily basis have been released, but unfortunately, some of the funds did not even reach the northeastern part of the country.
Condemning the act in all its ramifications, members say the attitude of those charged with the responsibility of channeling the funds for the well-being of the IDPs should not be tolerated. They call on concerned citizens from the Northeast to set aside their differences and take the responsibility of rebuilding the Northeast.
I want to urge the investigating team to make sure that in carrying out their function or this assignment,
order,
please, be cautious not to go home with blood, money, or blood on their hand.
It will be very, very painful. Any man, any Nigerian that will deprive those have gone through what they have gone through. Sir, look, today the whole world is watching us. That the money brought to help our people, your people, Nigerians, have gone to voicemail again.
The motion has been referred to the Committees on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness, AIDS, Loans, Debt Management, IDP, and the Northeast Development. Meanwhile, the House has gone on its salary recess to resume on the 12th of July. Emmanuel Ehijene, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Following the allegations of fraud leveled against the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, concerning the William Jefferson's bribery scandal by the Ekiti State Governor, Ayodele Fayose, the Buhari Friends Network organization is calling for proofs to determine his case. Anita Patrick brings us more.
The National Coordinator of Buhari Friends Network organization in its address says its group is not praising the government but displaying civil responsibility by calling for accountability.
It behoves us to react, and our reactions certainly have nothing to do with sycophancy or praise-thinking anybody, but rather to comply as a civic responsibility to do good and justice where necessary.
Nigerians have also been expressing their minds on the fact that as a democratic government and no one is above the law when proven.
Over time I've been reading stories of certain allegations by Fayose against the person of the president, and in my own opinion, well, like some people say, the Fayose person is more antagonistic against the present administration.
The National Coordinator of Buhari Friends Network organization also says there is need for Ekiti State Governor to look at the state's issues of salaries and leave the president to run the national issues.
Is he interested in the presidency? He should wait for his turn, because this thing should be turn by turn. And the president is not his mate. His role is not to even be his father. He should respect it. Yoruba culture, to the best of my knowledge, is that they respect elders a lot. I don't know why his own is a departure.
The group believes that the allegations are baseless until proven otherwise. Anita Patrick, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The federal government has again filed a fresh application at the Federal High Court in Abuja, asking for the shielding of its witnesses who are to testify against the former National Security Advisor, Sambo Dasuki. This is the second time the federal government is coming with an application seeking secret trial for Dasuki, who was facing charges of unlawful possession of firearms, money laundering, and breach of trust. Judiciary correspondent Basil Okafo was there and brings this report.
In the fresh motion argued Thursday by the Prosecution Council, government is asking the court to permit its witnesses to give evidence behind a screen to be provided by the court. The council submitted that the request was predicated on the fact that majority of the witnesses had served under Dasuki, and that if they are not shielded from public view, that it may jeopardize the trial.
On the ground that protecting the witnesses might hinder the right of fair hearing of the defendant, that they will not have the right to cross-examine and so on, which is their right, constitutional right. We said no.
But Dasuki, through his counsel, vehemently opposed the application for secret trial on the grounds that it will violate his right for fair hearing. He asked the court to dismiss the fresh application for lack of merit, as it dismissed a similar one earlier filed by the federal government on April 19.
Trial proceedings in court should be done in open, and that's guaranteed by the Constitution. And not only open, we should know as much as the witness as possible, so that we can test his veracity and assess his credibility.
After taking argument from both parties, the presiding judge, Justice Adeni Ademola, fixed September 13 for ruling on the request and continuation of the trial. Basil Okafo, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Chairman of the Silverbird Group and Senator representing Bayelsa East Senatorial District, Ben Murray-Bruce, says his group of companies will be back, adding that tough times do not last, but tough people do. In a series of tweets in response to the closure of the Silverbird complex in Abuja and Port Harcourt over an alleged 11 billion naira unpaid from Union Bank, says the station will be back and better. The Abuja office of the Silverbird Group, which comprises a television station, radio station, and cinema, was closed down earlier today by a team of mobile policemen, though the ShopRite franchise of supermarkets within the same complex is still in operation. Former Senate President Senator David Mark has raised alarm over the spate of murders, kidnappings, and gang-related activities in Benue State. In a statement by his media assistant, Paul Mume, Mark says the unfortunate development has claimed scores of lives and property worth millions in recent times. The former Senate President, reacting to the death of a Catholic priest, Reverend Father John Adey, in the hands of kidnappers who abducted him over 60 days ago, notes that the absurd and criminal activities has reached an intolerable level. Mark notes that the primary goal of any government is to ensure security and welfare of citizens, insisting that it is incumbent on leaders at all levels to secure the citizens. A 24-year-old man has been arraigned before a Kaduna High Court for alleged defilement of a minor. The suspect, Haruna Tukur, had on 5th of February this year defiled a 5-year-old girl within an uncompleted building in Malali area of Kaduna State. Our correspondent filed in this report presented from our studios.
The nature of the crime allegedly committed by the suspects is punishable under Section 283 of the Penal Code of Kaduna State. The section of the Penal Code states that the suspect will be liable to imprisonment for life or a lighter sentence if found guilty for the crime. Reading out the charges to the accused, Justice Muhammad Tukur Muhazu charges the prosecution counsel to establish the case of rape leveled against the suspect beyond all reasonable doubt. In response to the charges, the suspect pleads not guilty. The prosecution counsel then praised the court to grant an adjournment to afford the chance to present witnesses to further its case. The prosecuting counsel, Bayero Dari, speaks with journalists on the case.
The charges have been read to the accused person and he has normally pleaded not guilty to the charge. Now it's our responsibility to prove the charge, and the judge has given us ample opportunity to present all our witnesses, including medical personnel that investigated the girl after the rape. You know, she was immediately taken to the hospital. She was examined by medical personnel, and there's a report to that effect. And the report conclusively show that there was penetration and there is absence of hymen.
It says the trial of the suspects is a good sign in government's efforts to curb the rampant incidents of rape.
Why the case was celebrated is because of the rampancy of cases of this nature. Small, innocent, 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 6-year-old small girls being raped at will. Gentlemen, is a source of concern, and that is why we feel that these cases should be prosecuted diligently.
The case has been adjourned till 4th of August for continuation of hearing, while the suspect has been remanded in prison custody.
A total of 13,336 workers of Kaduna State government have been cut off from the state payroll, even as the state government reiterates its commitment to flush out ghost workers in the state. Head of Civil Service in the state, Ali Sabatu Dadao Nazi, disclosed this at a media briefing in Kaduna.
Addressing journalists, the head of service says the state government has taken measures to tackle the issue of ghost workers in the states through a series of workers' verification exercise.
With the 13,336, they have been set aside of the Kaduna State payroll for the time being. The reason being that they need to now address the governor of Kaduna State to indicate that they are genuine staff.
Dada Onazi, however, notes that the verification exercise will be thorough, while also disclosing some of the loopholes ghost workers exploit to find their way into the state's public service.
Nobody engages any ghost workers into any system. It's ridiculous. Some people were dead. Some others assumed the PSN numbers of those workers and got into the system. But the beauty of it is that no employment, nobody is employed until the governor gives approval for employment.
The state head of service further expresses commitment of the Kaduna State government to stamping out ghost workers from the state public service.
Even the verification exercises that happened, it was along with the labor unions. We all agreed, everybody is agreed that yes, the ghost worker phenomenon has to come to an end and Kaduna shall be great again. On
account of the latest weeding, the Kaduna State Civil Service, which was about 88,000 strong, is now reduced to 77,726, excluding some employees in some newly formed MDAs. The staff verification in the Kaduna State Civil Service began sometime in June 2015 and will last till August this year. Recall that last October, the exercise was decentralized, leading to MDAs generating their payroll for onward passage of the same to the Accountant General of the states under the Finance Ministry to effect salary payments.
Away from Kaduna State now, youths, particularly entrepreneurs, are being urged to tap into the budding economy of Nigeria as a contribution to the efforts of government to diversify the economy. Thus is the focus at the Aso Villa Demo Day event organized by the presidency in Lagos to celebrate and support the best in the fields of creativity, innovation and entrepreneurship, with a focus on economic diversification and inclusive enterprise. Victoria Solomon has more.
Entrepreneurial innovation has a vital role to play in tackling Nigeria's toughest rural and urban challenges. Aso Villa Demo Day aims at unlocking unprecedented opportunities for entrepreneurs and startups to collaborate with the government to solve, cultivate and deploy solutions to pressing problems facing citizens and cities across the country. The purpose of the event is highlighted by the representative from the Federal Ministry of Communication.
The purpose is to identify talents that are available in Nigeria. We'll go to Prague to identify, we'll come to Abuja, and the whole lesson is to select the best 50 that we can showcase to the presidency. The whole lesson is to look at ways of diversifying our economy in Nigeria.
He also restates benefits for entrepreneurs.
We get the best out of here, we get the best out of Port Harcourt, we get the best out of Abuja. I will take them to the federal government to say this is what we have in Nigeria. We are going to invite players from the private sector, investors, venture capitalists who may be willing to put in their money to invest in what is the solution they have.
The platform affords entrepreneurs the opportunity to speak on their business ideas, strategies, and how it will impact on the economy.
My idea is about power monitoring, measuring power consumption, which is a little bit more complex here because Nigerians tend to use lots of different power sources. Everybody has a generator, a lot of people have an inverter. And we're trying to measure that data and, give you a real-time feedback.
Combat the problem of inaccessibility to safe blood. So we do this by helping the hospitals and patients to be able to connect to the nearest blood banks and to blood donors with them. And of course, we have to work with the blood banks, get their records with a web portal.
Considering the level of youth unemployment that we have, you see, the agricultural sector holds a lot of potential for young people. But those potentials cannot begin to come to life with the level of how things are done right now.
Held in Abuja, Port Harcourt and Lagos, Asavila Demo Day is an initiative of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. Victoria Solomon, CoreTV News, Lagos.
As a follow-up to the launch of the Export Stimulation Facility initiated by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, a stakeholders parley has been organized by the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, NEXIM, and the Apex Bank to explain guidelines for accessing the fund. The acting managing director of NEXIM Bank, Bashir Wali, says the facility will be only operated by commercial banks focused on the export sector. Akin Bakaye brings us more.
The 500 billion naira Export Intervention Fund by the Central Bank of Nigeria is attracting the attention of stakeholders as the launch gains momentum. Already established and prospective exporters, as well as representatives of commercial banks, gathered to discuss guidelines and how the fund can be accessed.
Export-oriented enterprises with verifiable export off-take contracts shall be eligible under the ESF. Eligible bank assets purchased by asset management company that may by special approval of the CBN management.
As major players in the export business, financial institutions share their thoughts.
It's a very good thing, and the banks actually will benefit from it because of the exporters, both potentials and existing, that will be coming around.
CBN, NEXIM are just providing liquidity. So the workability of the project, the bankability of whatever project you are bringing forward still needs to be checked by the commercial banks.
Other important aspects which form part of the requirement before exporters can benefit from the facility is also addressed.
The commercial banks will, in conformity with the existing laws and regulations of the land and their own internal credit policies, take security for the facility they are processing on behalf of their customers.
Stakeholders are full of hope while praying that implementation of this 500 billion naira Export Intervention Fund will be carried out to the letter as a departure from experiences of the past. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Nigerian Satellite Communication has launched the L-band application in order to augment the global navigation satellite system. Ministry of Communications, represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Sunday Echono, says the trend is to leverage the ICT to stimulate economic growth as well as sustain rapid socio-economic development. He made this known at a workshop on phase implementation of satellite-based augmentation system in Abuja. Kika Lamokere completes this report.
Africa and the Middle East are experiencing the fastest growth in global navigation satellite system in the world. The navigation payload of NICOMSAT has been designed to support the operate in both security, strategic national infrastructure and public safety utility. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Communication says it will provide requisite interconnectivities to government agencies, private sector and citizens beyond cities and urban areas.
Promote
competencies, we are going to promote efficiencies, and we are going to promote capabilities that we will be able to deliver this service, do it efficiently, and thereafter we will compel all the agencies of government as a first step will transit. And after that, you will see, we believe that voluntarily all the other actors in the sector will also move on.
Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Communication Satellite, adds that the satellite-based augmentation system will enhance security of strategic national infrastructure, aviation, transportation, maritime needs, as well as fleet management, amongst others.
It is better we get views, we air views, and collate needs of users. So this is more or less like users' conference. They tell us their specific needs, we integrate it.
The global navigation system will promote tourism, improve utility management of roads, rails, and marine, and will also improve emergency services as well as recovery and preparedness.
That helps in positioning, it helps in location-based services, it helps in tracking, it helps in fleet management, it helps in monitoring of infrastructure that's strategic to the nation.
Regional augmented service is a critical solution for pivotal sector, which has differentiated itself as a space-based augmented product with all acquirable benefits of high-level precision with all needed integrity of correction. Kikelomo Okeri, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Today, widows from all walks of life gathered in commemoration of 2016 International Widows' Day to reassure themselves that they are not alone in the challenging journey through life. Pioneer of the Widows Summit says women must be strong for their children and not think the world has ended because they lost their soulmate. Victoria Solomon brings us more.
A cross-section of widows who are taking a stand to celebrate their existence, forget their sorrows, rather than allow the loss of their loved ones to overwhelm them. On this year's International Widows' Day, the bereaved are urged to be strong.
Widows are advised to learn to live longer, have fun, not in the time of the world. Having fun means doing something for themselves, loving themselves.
A call for more to be done for widows also rings true.
Government to just do more, as in making widows have a sense of belonging in the society. Like today is Widows' Day. I think government should recognize it. You understand? Like the way they recognize Community Day, Children's Day, it should be recognized. It should be a national event.
Participants further expressed their views on the day's celebration.
I just want to tell them they should take heart. The Lord Jesus is our husband, and we have been widows, and we still have to cope up no matter what the situation. We just have to cope. As we know there is God. When you know there is God, you have to cope.
Tell widows that as women, they should not think that the loss of a husband is the end of the world. To tell them, take heart. Look around to see what you can do. Pick yourself up for the sake of your children and go ahead and live a good life.
My advice is for them to hold on to God, because it's only God that sees us through. With prayers, they should be more prayerful. Because when you are prayerful, God answers prayer. Through you are prayerful, nobody knows that you are a widow.
International Widows' Day is celebrated annually on the 23rd of June. Victoria Solomon, CoreTV News, Lagos.
You are still watching CoreTV Primetime News. Still ahead in reports from outside Nigeria, Britain's vote whether or not to remain in EU. Details in just a moment. Stay with us.
CoreTV News now live on all Androids.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
Download CoreTV News app from your Play Store. Click on the menu to see all our top stories from politics, sports, business, foreign news and live TV to watch us live on your mobile.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
You can also click on video to see all our YouTube videos. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Thanks for being there. In reports from beyond the shores, millions of Britons are voting to decide whether the UK will remain a part of the European Union in a referendum that has divided the nation. The provisional figures from the Electoral Commission shows a record of 46.5 million voters signed up to weigh in on today's referendum, which comes after a 4-month battle for vote between the Leave and Remain campaigns. The divisive referendum has sparked the greatest emergency in the EU's 60-year history. The vote pits the Remain campaign, backed by British Prime Minister David Cameron and opposition Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn, against the Leave camp, led by the former London Mayor, Conservative MP Boris Johnson. Polling stations opened at 7 a.m. and will close at 10 p.m. local time. EU leaders have however warned that there will be no turning back from a vote to quit the 28-member bloc. Democrats in the lower house of the U.S. Congress have staged a sit-in to demand a vote on gun control legislation. Republicans adjourned the House earlier today to try to quash the sit-in, switching off the TV cameras, but some Democrats remained, streaming speeches live via phones. The Democrat protest follows the gun attack on June the 12th, when a man claiming allegiance to the so-called Islamic State group, Omar Mateen, killed 49 people at the Pulse Club in Orlando, Florida. Meanwhile, after a brief adjournment, the House resumed business at 2:30, with the majority Republicans voting through a number of bills, but granting no votes on gun control. Now, tornado has killed 51 people in eastern China and injured dozens more. State media reports that the tornado, accompanied by torrential rain and hailstorms, hit the province of Jiangsu on Thursday afternoon. Many parts of China have been hit by torrential rains this week, and flood in parts of southern China killed 22 people and displaced nearly 200,000 people. China's Vice Premier Wang Yang says China faces volatile weather conditions as a result of the influence of El Nino on weather patterns. Baltimore police officer Cesar Goodson has been found not guilty in his trial for the murder of black detainee Freddie Gray. He was found not guilty on a second-degree depraved hurt murder charge, the most serious count sought against the 6 officers charged in the case. The verdict is a blow to prosecutors who have yet to win a conviction connected to Gray's death. Freddie Gray, 25, was arrested in April 2015 for running away from police officers. He died a week after sustaining a spinal injury while in the back of a police van driven by Goodson. Baltimore Circuit Judge Barry Williams also acquitted Goodson on charges of manslaughter, assault, misconduct in office, and reckless endangerment after the 5-day trial. Let's now bring you some sports reports.
Power style, and that's what he delivered.
Federation of International Football Association FIFA has announced Nigeria in part 2 for Friday's African World Cup qualifiers draws in Cairo, Egypt. This was made known by the body via a press release to invalidate a previously announced special ranking which demoted the Super Eagles to pot 3 and placed Egypt in pot 1. The body also indicated the procedure for a hit-free draw ceremony that teams in pot 4 will be drawn first. The team drawn first from pot 4 will be placed in Group A, and its exact position in the group will be determined by a ball drawn from a second pot that will contain 4 balls with the position numbers 1 to 4. Also, the team drawn second from pot 4 will be placed in Group B, and its position in the group will also be determined by a ball drawn from the second pot. The team drawn third will be placed in Group C, and its position drawn from the second pot. The team drawn fourth will be placed in Group D, and its position drawn from the second pot. With the team already out of 2017 Africa Cup of Nations, they will be hoping to secure one of the 5 spots for the 2018 FIFA World Cup billed for Russia. Still in sport, England striker and Arsenal target Jamie Vardy has agreed a new deal with Premier League champions Leicester. The Foxes say the 29-year-old, whose goals helped the club claim a shock title success last season, will sign an extended 4-year contract. Both parties hope this announcement will end recent speculation regarding Germany's future. Vardy was the subject of a reported 20 million bid from Premier League rivals Arsenal before the start of Euro 2016. That bid activated a release clause in his contract, with the Gunners offering him a deal reported to be worth $120,000 a week. Leicester responded with an offer said to be worth $100,000. That is a package on sports and on CoreTV Primetime News today. Before we go, let's take a quick recap of our top stories. That's it on CoreTV Primetime News today. Many thanks for being a part of it. I am Abosedi Omowi. On behalf of the entire production crew, have a splendid